Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Cole. It's late Saturday night, September 30th, and we'll call this week 7 of Political Science 1013 for the fall 2023 term on the first 8-week schedule. Everyone, we should just be finishing up with Exam 3. By the time most of you see this, on Sunday the 1st, the exam will be over, except for those who are taking it late, 1 or 2 students. We have about 2 weeks left in the term. The final exam will be October 12th, I believe. And we have to cover Units 7 and 8 on the Supreme Court and Congress for the final exam. Everyone, over the course of the day, Sunday, you should be receiving a series of announcements. They'll be up on the website and you'll get them through email. This will include the reading assignment for the final exam and the assignment for our final discussion 5, which will be coming up in a few days. We'll get that in between now and the final exam. So be watching for that. For the time being then, let me just say a few words about Unit 7 on the Supreme Court, and we'll say Unit 8 on Congress for next time. We begin Unit 7 by talking about the federal court system in general, very briefly. We mostly concentrate on the Supreme Court. We discuss Supreme Court operations, how it does business, how it decides whether or not to take cases. Remember, the Supreme Court's jurisdiction is almost entirely on appeal. We discuss the concept of judicial review, which is the Supreme Court's power to determine what is or is not constitutional or consistent with the Constitution. Everyone, people will say that the Supreme Court ought to be a legal, not a political institution, but it turns out to be very, very hard to keep the politics out of the Supreme Court. We might say that the Supreme Court is a political institution in the broadest sense. It is created by the Constitution, which is a political document. The justices are, of course, jurists, but they come under very close scrutiny for whatever their political views might be. These days, justices are assumed to have political views similar to those of the president who appointed them. And everyone is aware that at this time we have 6 Republican appointees and 3 Democratic appointees on the court. The politics of the Supreme Court comes out very strongly when we consider some of the controversies that have accompanied Supreme Court vacancies and nominations for new justices to fill those vacancies, going all the way back to Clarence Thomas in the 1990s and more recently to the 3 justices that were appointed by Donald Trump. Okay. Now, no Supreme Court justice would accept the idea that that justice is there simply to do the bidding of the president that appointed that justice. Okay. Sometimes, on cases, their political leanings seem to have very little to do with it, but on others, it's pretty clear where their political preferences lie. They're not always divided along party lines, but sometimes they are. So politics is hard to keep out of it. And we'll discuss some of those controversies that have accompanied recent Supreme Court vacancies and the filling of those vacancies. Lastly, we're going to discuss several of the so-called landmark decisions of the Supreme Court, ones that had broad political and constitutional significance. The most recent one being the Dobbs decision from last year, which had the effect of overturning another landmark decision, Roe v. Wade, from 1973 on the abortion issue. And we'll discuss several other landmark decisions, so-called. All right, so that is what we will be doing for Unit 7 on the Supreme Court. I hope you take a look at those class notes. We'll be getting out the material for discussion 5 and for the final exam, and we'll have more to say next time on Unit 8 on Congress. So I hope everyone has done well on the exam. Study hard, take it easy, and we'll talk to you again about Congress in what may be our last message to you this term about a week from now. Take it easy.